Even as a lover of nature, I have to admit that when I first heard Pixar was releasing a film about fish, the idea didn't really appeal to me. I loved the creativity of their last film, Monsters Inc., and following that with a film about talking fish didn't exactly get me excited. But obviously, Finding Nemo wasn't a film about fish. It was a story about a father trying against massive odds to rescue his son, whilst learning valuable parenting lessons along the way. As usual, Pixar's focus on strong storytelling had me hooked. Whilst I may have had reservations about the film at first, I had no such concerns about the art book, and it's been a firm favourite ever since I bought it. Aside from the storytelling, the other thing that grabbed me about the film was just how beautiful it looked. The use of colour and especially light is superb. The ocean is an environment which is very much tied to light. Its different zones, such as the sunlight, twilight and midnight zones, are quite literally defined by the amount of light they receive, and this in turn affects the species which can survive there. This is clearly something that was given considerable attention during the development of the film. And one thing that immediately grabbed me about the art of Finding Nemo were the many pastel paintings which helped define both the colour and lighting of the film. Many of these were created by production designer Ralph Eggleston. Ralph had been an art director at Pixar since Toy Story, and was also the writer and director of the Oscar-winning short film For the Birds. Taking the role of production designer on Finding Nemo, his pastel paintings, many of which are reproduced at the original size or even larger, really helped to define the look and feel of the film. As the director of photography, Sharon Callahan was responsible for translating the look defined in the visual development artwork into the images we see on screen. She'd often start out with Ralph's pastel paintings, manipulating them in the computer to better represent the range of light and colour that can be displayed on screen. She says, "Fundamentally, with lighting, you're trying to create order out of chaos. The first task is to direct the viewer's eye to the action. Then you support the acting and emotional goals of the story. And finally, you balance the image and add beauty." One of the early challenges of the film was to define just how caricatured to make the designs. Writer-director Andrew Stanton says, "I knew this film would have a balance of reality and fantasy, but be a little more skewed to reality than Toy Story and A Bug's Life." There were many artists involved in helping to explore the look of the film in the early days, but one who stands out was Simone Varela. I was lucky enough to see some of the original artwork from the making of Finding Nemo at an exhibition in London. Of all the amazing artwork on show, some of the pieces that really stood out to me were those by Simone Varela. As impressive as these are in the book, they're a fraction of the size of the originals. Seeing these huge charcoal drawings in person was truly impressive. It's easy to see how they were so influential. Andrew Stanton said, "A picture speaks 1,000 words, and his pictures helped me convey to others what I wanted the look of the movie to be. It wasn't about literally seeing those images, but the rulebook for how to caricature, how much to simplify something, or make it look cartoony. It was the touchstone." Something which is notable about the art of Finding Nemo, which is far less common in the more recent Pixar art books, is just how much of the work is made with traditional media. There's pencil, pastel, charcoal and acrylic, but rarely any digital art. What's always been key to the pre-production process is visualising ideas as quickly as possible. In the book, Ralph Eggleston states, "I love working in different mediums, especially gouache, but it's just faster for me to work in chalk pastels." Over the past 20 years, traditional media has inevitably been replaced in the visual development process by digital painting, since it offers even greater degrees of speed and convenience. Whilst this work is often beautiful in its own right, it's refreshing to be able to look back at how things used to be made. Another key challenge of the film was defining the look of the underwater world. The reef itself was a challenge due to the inherent complexity. What the artists realised, however, was that it was possible to simplify and caricature the reef in much the same way as a character. But outside of the reef, the limited colour palette of the ocean presented its own set of problems. Ralph Eggleston states, "What was challenging and scary for a lot of people was that our palette was so limited. After Father and Dory leave the reef, there are chunks of the movie where there's only 3 or 4 colours in a scene." The director Andrew Stanton mentioned that the choice of clownfish for the main characters was inspired by a photo in a book and a visit to the aquarium. Whilst the choice may not have been made for colour-related reasons, the orange and white patterns stand out perfectly against the blue backgrounds which dominate the film, providing a real pop of colour in an otherwise limited palette. This limited palette is never simply blue, however. The colours range from turquoise for the reef, through deep blues to the green of Sydney Harbour. Not only does this provide variety and helpful indication of different locations, and colour is also useful to enhance the mood throughout the story. John Lasseter said, "To help us achieve the emotion we're after in a particular sequence, we use lighting and colour. I'd say colour and lighting, and even music, help give a scene its underlying emotion better than dialogue." Sadly, one thing which is noticeably missing from The Art of Finding Nemo, but is often present in more recent books in the series, is a colour script. There are snippets included in the book, but for the full colour script, you'll need to turn to The Art of Pixar instead. Seeing the full colour palette of the film laid out in this fashion is always enlightening. Another interesting aspect about the film was the occasional use of different visual styles. The planned sequence inside the water treatment plant was to be given a film noir look, to create an oppressive and mysterious appearance. Environment art director Anthony Christoph says, "It's a very subtle touch, but it helps create a little visual variety, so the whole movie doesn't have the same cinematic language." This was taken further in the sequence with the fisherman. In this case, the filmmakers adopted an Art Deco style. Anthony Christoph states again, "As with the water treatment plant, it's tricky, because you don't want to make a scene look like it's from a different movie. It's a very subtle touch, almost subliminal." Sadly, Ralph Eggleston passed away in August of 2022, at the age of 56. He contributed to many films at Pixar, Disney and beyond. However, his work as production designer for Finding Nemo is what I'll most fondly remember, and his impact on the final film is plain to see. The way he so effectively captured colour and light with his pastel paintings makes The Art of Finding Nemo a source of inspiration I find myself returning to time and time again.